Now, let's chat.
Let's chat. You're not
Okay. Gee, this is a pretty good place, isn't it? I've got a much better chair here.
You can have overflow in the other building.
Yeah. Does everybody see me? Everybody see
I
me?
think they all see you.
Hear me? Too bad.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. So we'll start by saying good morning to all the divisions, and then you
Okay,
get to
well,
say
let's
hello to
do
all the
that.
new people.
We'll do that.
So I'm not sure if Vista's on. They're having their barbecue today. Are you there? Is Vista with us? I don't think so. They're in the middle of their barbecue right now.
Okay.
But LA, good morning, LA. Good morning. And we have new people here today, right? I believe. So if you're new, you can say hello to everyone. Say who you
You
are
have
and
to
what you
stand
do.
up.
That's right. Well, you could like lean in.
I'm Monique. I'm the corporate marketing coordinator. Yep, that's it.
I'm Leslie. I am the new compliance and safety coordinator.
Let's finish this side up.
Hi, I'm Helen. I'm the new merchandiser.
Now your side.
Hi, Eden from the customer service. Hi, I'm Denise Vaughn, the new director of corporate credit.
And good morning, Fresno.
Good morning. We have a new one here too.
All right.
Morning. My name is Matthew Todd. I'm the new DCR here in Fresno.
Welcome. Matthew. And Sacramento. Good morning, Sacramento.
Good morning.
We've got two new ones.
Morning, I'm Carly. I'm the new CRM here in Sacramento.
Welcome.
Good morning.
I'm Laylene Lamb, the new expediter.
And Portland. Good morning, Portland.
Good morning. We have new with us as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Devin. I'm a new CRM.
Good morning. I'm Tyler Harden, new CRM as well.
Hi, I'm Erica. I'm a new client coordinator.
And good morning, Boise.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We don't have anybody new.
And good morning, Reno.
Good morning.
Morning.
Same old people.
Yay. And Las Vegas. Good morning, Las Vegas.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Phoenix. Good morning, Phoenix.
Good morning.
We have one new person.
I'm Bree, client coordinator.
And Salt Lake. Good morning, Salt Lake.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Brian. I am a new CRM.
And good morning or good afternoon, Houston.
Good afternoon.
Good morning. Hello.
Hello.
No one new here.
And North Carolina. Good afternoon. They're not there. Well, we'll take that back.
We can't have everything.
I think we covered all of them.
Good.
All right. Well, this is the last one for the year, and we've been doing this 4 years now.
Boy, I can't believe that.
How about that?
Sorry to impose on you all this time.
And you just want to keep going. I keep saying we should stop, and you just won't let us.
I don't think that's quite correct.
So I had a lot of fun getting ready for this one. Mr. Wilson, you wanted to talk about the future. And as we started talking about the future, we also said, well, you can't talk about the future until you pay respect to the past. And so we started talking about a lot of the things that your generation experienced, things that your generation dreamed of that later generations accomplished. And like one of the things that I learned was that in 1934, the first car radios were invented. And we were talking, and you said you remember car radios being invented.
Well, they weren't invented, they were radios,
installed.
they were installed. And it was quite a thing. I think what we're trying to get people to realize that we're living in a generation that's exploding. All of us are fortunate enough to just see a whole new world constantly in front of us. This world is so capable of doing wonderful things. And unfortunately, there's a lot of bad things. So today we're going to look at the good things. Because what happens is, if you look and everybody looks at the past and how great it wasn't that great. We didn't have the things that we have today. I mean, we can do things in 2 minutes that in those days took us an hour. I'm thinking in terms of just getting letters written and that. In the day a typewriter was finally invented, and then from the typewriter, we had people that were in type pools. You had women particularly, that's the only job that most women had was as typists. And it was crazy. And if you were a lawyer, you had 3 and maybe 4 typists working for you. Today, the lawyer gets on his phone or whatever it is, and he's working with his computer, and he gets all of this out in less time. It's more accurate, and he doesn't have to duplicate it. Because if a mistake was made in those days, you had to white it out. You had to go through all of this, and your children and that don't even know what we're talking about.
But that also ended something that you appreciate. So you talk about it wasn't all great, but what you love is the handwriting, and that ended. So that was something that was good.
Well,
it doesn't exist.
I think it's terrible. Cursive writing isn't even being taught in schools today, and it's tragic because the kids are learning to print. They don't even do that anymore. So that you can't communicate now without a phone or a iPhone it's crazy. On the other hand, it makes things so much easier.
We were just debating in your office which is faster, handwriting or print, and we were racing.
And it's a question. If you've been trained, it doesn't make much difference, except that if you can write cursively, it's much nicer and easier. On the other hand, if you don't know how to write it, if you print, you can get that over. But it's a different world. But I know the kids today, you would ask them to write something, they can't write it, but they can maybe print it.
Sort of like signing your name, right? You love the signature versus the squigglies that you call them.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, it's amazing what's happening. And we're very fortunate, all of us, to see what's going to be here tomorrow, next year. And I'm excited because I've been able to have a vision of things that are just amazing. We were talking about, 80 years ago, what was that program?
Oh my gosh. So on this day, Sunday, October 30th, was when Orson Welles read War of the Worlds.
And it was on the radio, and I was a boy, and I sort of remember that. And they had read it and all of a sudden, throughout the country, people thought we were being invaded by the Martians. And it was so crazy, and it really went. They thought we were being invaded, and I remember that as a boy because it was amazing. Well, that wouldn't happen today, see, but it was just showing.
Today you would switch the channel.
Yeah, we switched the channel.
And you would know CNN said there's no news, right?
Right.
But what's interesting about that show is that we were talking, and in between him reading, there was music, there were news alerts. And then he would read, but then they were also part of the show. They were interviewing people that were saying, I saw a Martian.
Yeah.
In the beginning, they gave a waiver saying this is a show, but if you missed the waiver, you really thought that was really happening.
People were just frightened. It was amazing. It's crazy. So this was a big deal, the radio. And then and our president started radio chats.
Do you remember how you felt during that? Was your family scared? What was the neighborhood like?
I don't know. I was just a kid, but I tend to remember that everybody was scared.
How long did it last? How long were people scared?
It was several hours. I mean, this wasn't...
How did you know that it was, at the end, was there something?
Well, they kept playing on the radio. This was a program.
That's how everyone sort of knew that it was real? Wow. So they had you going.
Yeah, with everybody, at least, of course, I was in Salt Lake City at the time. And we were scared, I want to tell you. Because a lot of people had one radio in the house, too. It wasn't like it was that. Then the next thing is that all of a sudden you're inventing a radio that can go into a car. You can imagine driving in a car and having a radio. Wasn't that something? Just think it. I can still remember deliveries with a horse and wagon on ice and milk. They used to deliver. And
was your stove wood burning?
Well, my original one, we had a gas. We were one of the first people to have gas. Then the Depression hit and we couldn't afford that anymore. So then we went back to coal. So we had to put coal in and cook coal. And it was much tougher and dirtier and that.
What was it like when refrigerators started showing up?
Well, that was good. One of the great days of my life. I'll tell you, this was really important. I was a young man, and this was very important. We had a grocery store catty corner to our place, and that grocery store was advertising something new. It was called Wonder Bread, and they had sliced bread in a package. Can you imagine getting bread already sliced for you in a package? Wow. That was incredible for us. So you can see from the stuff that people just take everything for granted today. Now you get on Amazon and you order stuff and you get mad because you can't call or talk to anybody about it. This last 2 weeks, that's what happened to us. Every week I get the same thing back because my wife ordered this and she put the wrong check down there, so it comes weekly. So
and you can't stop it.
Well, you have to just go in and stop it. See? So I guess it's better now.
That's like that saying: the best thing is to slice bread.
So all I'm saying is, it's exciting. What's the next thing that's going to happen? What are we looking for? What are we doing? Here's a company, and I was showing him the way we were used to into
as an attorney, you would dictate.
No, we had it here too. I had that dictating.
Your tape recorder.
Tape recorder.
It's a small little handheld.
And I still got one old house. We don't do that anymore. So it's just amazing how things have changed and what's going to happen 2 years from now or 3 years from now. You won't even have to worry about it. You talk into things and it tells you. I can take my app and ask this gal, and she gives me more information. I need to know, you know. I don't even know how to do a Syrah. And she's there. And I ask her stuff, and some things she won't tell me. Anyway, that's...
I love that you still have that in your desk. We were talking about dictation, and you pulled it out and said, here it is.
So think about it. Each one of us are so lucky. Look what we can see just in our lifetimes. If you think about it, you look back when you first, as a kid, started, it's amazing. And just think from when I was in the Army, we had these terrific telephones, you know, hand phones. They were this big. And then you could talk to it on the phone. Whereas we could, when we were out on patrol, we had those. We were one of the great new people that could go out on a patrol and talk to somebody back, see. Whereas a lot of guys had the old way, they couldn't do it that way.
That's like what we talked about when you said, you were talking about the books that you read, Tarzan, Going to Mars, Journey to the Sun, Dick Tracy, where he would talk into his watch.
Well, that was incredible. Dick Tracy could talk to his watch, and things happened. It was amazing. And nobody said, this is such bull, nothing like that's ever going to happen. We're doing it. Nobody was ever going to go to the moon. Who would ever go to the moon? That happened in that happened when you were kids, a lot of it. It's been so long. And that was amazing. And the next thing you know, what's going to happen to all of us in the future here? And that's what we thought we would talk about, how lucky we were.
Isn't it amazing that they got to the moon and computers were limited? It was really their minds and the thought that they put into that. It was the people, really.
Yeah, there's a movie out just now on the first man on the moon. And I understand it's fabulous. And, but it's...
Where were you when he landed on the moon?
I was here in Los Angeles.
Do you remember that day, what that was like?
Oh yeah, we were watching. It was amazing. We couldn't believe it. And see, because the Russians were the first ones to circle the Earth, and so we had to catch up. And President Kennedy said we were going to catch up, and we were the first people to land on the moon. So when you have specific objectives that you can do, you arrive at. Take our company, for example. Look what we're working on now, on how we're going to communicate beginning next February. It's going to be a whole different way, and it's so difficult to get that started. On the other hand, it's going to be easier for all of us when we get done with it. I'm just so proud of that we are spending all the time and the money, and all of you people are spending such efforts to get this done properly. But in the long run, that's just the beginning. That means it's going to be easier. We can accomplish so much together, and we always have to think about that. That's why I love this company, because every one of you are always willing to help the rest of us to do things easier and better. And I just can't tell you how proud I am that I'm part of it, because I just think it's great.
You also talked about how Ernest is helping companies with, we talked about food and refrigerators, but increasing the shelf life of food in the medical world, how, the cold storage, all of it.
Well, life is so different. Just think about what we're doing in cures today. In the last 5 years, they've developed stuff within the body, and the body can fight cancer itself. They say within 10 to 15 years, cancer can be obliterated by your own body. And we think that's funny. And the longevity of people, if you will look what's happened in my lifetime, the reason 65 was put in Social Security to retire at 65, because nobody got to 65, but they did a few, and then some of them would be able to get Social Security. Well, today, 65 is a young person.
because 65 was usually the lifespan.
Yeah, and now, look at an old guy like me still around. And I'm not old anymore.
Doing push-ups.
Well, that's true. So we thought we would talk about that. And
that's what was great is I was asking you, so that when you were a kid, you dreamed about the moon and watches and things, but now that you're, now today, what do you dream about? And that's what we're talking about.
well, we think in terms of where are we going to be in the next few years. And it's sort of fun to try to imagine it even, because the people who imagined all of these things made it happen. You know, if you think in terms of the longevity of men, it was amazing that Einstein came up with a theory, and people don't realize that we didn't even know what an atom was before 1900, when they talked about it, but he had actually proved in his, as a young man, because he kept thinking of what the future and how it was, he actually proved there were such things as atoms and how the structures. Now all of a sudden we realize, well, what is space about? And now we realize that we don't know even more, less. But
You talked
we're
about
going to do that.
You talked about colonies in space, living on a planet.
Well, you can be. Who knows? We will have colonies on a planet, but we don't know when.
Something that was really neat from our conversations is we were talking about electric cars and car batteries, and we were sharing how bad they are for the environment. And what was interesting is you said something, and you reminded me of a different time when you and I were talking, where we're talking about solar panels on roofs. And I was sharing with, I was telling you, they're so unattractive. And you said, they'll make them better. You said, they'll make them better. They'll be smaller, they'll be better looking, everyone will have them. Now they look like roof shingles. We're talking about the car battery and how bad they are. And you said, they'll make them better. Your generation just has this belief that someone will make it better. There was just this, where does that come from? This hope of it's this like strong confidence that you have, which is it'll just be better, and then it happens.
Well, I think that things go forward and then back a little bit, but they keep going forward. For example, what's interesting is the first president that had batteries on the roof, you know,
on the White House?
And who was that? Jimmy Carter. Well, the White House had...
Oh, he was the first.
He was the first one to put on the White House. And then Reagan came in and he took them off. He thought, that's ridiculous. See? Now, everybody's starting to use batteries, you know, on our house. It's just a matter of time that there'll be more electricity. I drive a Tesla, and it's an incredible car. It's pretty nice that I don't have to get gas, but it's easy, and it's got a lot of power and that. So, and that's just the beginning. But you go forward, you go backward, but we're always going forward. And unfortunately, I think there's going to be these automatic cars that will be driving around. And just think about it. We're so lucky to see so many things coming out, aren't we? Mm-hmm. So what else am I supposed to?
We spoke about medicine. I learned about something that was really interesting. So we spoke about medicine. So penicillin was introduced in 1942.
Right.
And you were one of the first to receive penicillin, and then it almost killed you, right?
Well, I wasn't one of the first, but I got it early.
You were one of the early ones then.
I was one of the early ones to get it, but I got it, and I'm allergic to penicillin. And so nobody knows, and then things so that...
what was that like when penicillin came on?
Well, it cured a lot of people, particularly these social diseases.
I thought officers had the cold.
No, that's another story. Well, do you want me to tell the story? Well, we were during the war. We were at a place in Germany. We're now in occupation just after the war, the next few months. And of course, there was no fraternizing with the women, of course. That was. However, there was a village up on top there that some of the gentlemen would somehow fraternize up on the top. And it was amazing because the enlisted men came back, and within a short time they had received a nice little disease. And of course, it was bad news. The officers, when they came back, the same thing occurred, but they called it the flu. No officer ever got that disease. Unfortunately, my friends were all enlisted men.
But that's not when you received penicillin.
But penicillin stopped. No, I never was. No, I never. So that's an interesting.
Do you remember what that felt like? I mean, what it was like when you said you started getting high?
Well, you could break out. It's terrible. And then I was told that if I'd had any more, I could die from it very quickly. So that was 20, 30 years ago. So you got to be careful what you get. So, but they know so much more today. You go into a hospital and it's amazing what they can do. For example, I'm a living example of why I shouldn't be here. I'm on my third pacemaker. I just had my second surgery on my heart, replacing a valve. 10 years ago, when I had my first replacement, it was done by breaking my chest open and going in. 3 months ago, they just went up my leg and replaced that because it was worn out. And here I am. Look, I'm here to aggravate you more. And you know I will do that. So that's the story. Well, isn't that amazing, though? Does that show you? And the rapidity and change of medicine, just absolutely amazing. So we're all very lucky that we live when we do today, but we'll be even luckier if we live tomorrow. What do you think of that?
I think that was great.
You think we've had enough aggravation? Who can I aggravate today?
You have 500 people to choose from. We'll see you next year.
Next year.